Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's live stream. As always, I do really appreciate it. And of course, really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the YouTube live streams. So as you guys know, I've been working on doing these every other Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I will continue to do that. And I will update you guys if I do decide to go back to doing sort of the weekly streams. But again, I think for the time being, I'll focus on doing these every other week. But of course, I do really appreciate you guys for your support and for your encouragement since I've been putting out these live streams and all of the other videos that I've uploaded as well. So before I do get started, I do want to, of course, pin my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. You can go to my website directly at the homepage of my, or I should say, the channel page of my, of course, channel itself. There is a link to where you can go to my website. It is bponlinefitness.com and it'll take you there. So on my website, there are a ton of free resources that you can check out. I also have a ton of information related to online fitness coaching, as well as other videos that I upload to. I also, try to share different topics outside of, most of my fitness related topics, so that you guys can sort of understand a little bit more about who I am as an individual outside of just, all of the fitness information that I share. So definitely check out all the other videos that I've uploaded. Really, again, appreciate you guys and your feedback and comments on a lot of the videos I've shared. If there's, anything else, any kind of topics you would like me to discuss in a future video, feel free to take the time to let me know. I would definitely, again, love to discuss something that you guys may be interested in. So let's go ahead and get started with our topic for the day. So, what we're going to be going over is somewhat of basically an overview of different points. So, we're going to be going over the Busy Gay Professional's Guide to Staying Fit. So, we're going to go over a lot of different aspects. So, it's not just going to be one particular things such as just focusing on fitness or nutrition. It is going to be all encompassing of these different points. So, this is going to be a good overview on how you can stay fit and stay dedicated to your routine even when you are in a really busy schedule. And again, this a lot of the streams that I do here on YouTube, I do try to make it geared towards gay men in particular. So that is my focus when I do these streams. However, of course, anybody can make use of these, but I do, again, want to be a good support system because I know what it's like to struggle, especially again, like I've mentioned, when you are trying to find a coach or if you're trying to find somebody who understands your experience, it is hard to find that individual who really gets the experience that you're going through and sort of the difficulties that it can bring. Especially again, like in the fitness sphere, there is this, not to say there's somewhat of a saturation, I guess you would say, of it's mostly straight men who pretty much are, doing a lot of the fitness influencer, personal training sort of advice. And my main focus is to sort of be the difference and to be again a more supportive outlet because it is very hard and very difficult to find somebody who can be sort of again understand your experience and who can really be there for you throughout the journey. So that is my main focus. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. So we're going to be going over a set of different points. And like I mentioned, a lot of these points are going to encompass a lot of different topics in themselves. So again, this is going to be a wide range. So it's not going to focus on one specific thing. So we're going to go over all encompassing of fitness, nutrition, and recovery, and learning how to manage all of these elements at the same time. So these are the different points that we're going to be going over. We're going to go over fitness that fits your calendar and not the other way around, navigating happy hours, brunches, and social events without losing progress, meal prep without spending your entire Sunday in the kitchen, managing stress before it derails your fitness goals, and looking good is great, but feeling strong is better. So these are the 5 different points that we're going to really be touching on today in this particular stream. If you guys have any questions throughout this stream, feel free to let me know. I'm willing to, again, try to address those questions. And even if you get to the end of the stream and there was a question that you weren't able to ask, you can always feel free to reach out and let me know. Um, or you could leave a comment on this stream at a later time when it is uploaded. So that's totally fine as well. But let's go ahead and get started here. So the first point we want to mention is that fitness, basically going over fitness that fits your calendar and not the other way around. So, one of the big things that is very crucial for your routine is to make sure that you focus on having the routine itself support your life and not have to compete with it. Your workouts themselves should be around your real schedule. So, you should not have to feel like your life has to be completely work like basically obstruct your workouts themselves. It shouldn't feel like something that, for lack of a better term, basically that's out of place or like your workout is not something that you can, you just don't want it to obstruct your schedule and you don't want it to feel like it's a burden. You want it to easily integrate into your daily life. Another thing you want to think about is that short, focused sessions are still progress. So, this is something that I've mentioned time and time again, or whenever we are building a workout schedule, we do not have to do workouts that, again, are hours long. They can be 30 minutes, they can be 45 minutes, they can be an hour, but they do not have to be extremely long workouts. A short and focused workout session is still a great way to progress in your routine. Consistency is going to be waiting for the perfect time. So, again, like what I've mentioned before, how we progress in a routine and how we really are able to reach our goal is more dependent on how consistent we are versus showing up to the workout perfectly and having, a perfect session. Plan flexible workout options for busy weeks. So when you have those weeks where your schedule can get kind of out of hand, or it just becomes very difficult to stay in a structure, learn to sort of prepare for that. What can you do to sort of put in place a routine that's going to still work around your schedule, even when things, when it feels like you're going to derail from your normal routine? Always see your routine, again, find a way to where you can fit those workouts in. If it does have to be a shorter workout, or if you maybe have to do, body weight workouts for that day, or, again, there's a lot of different ways. I think what matters more is that, again, your workouts do not have to be perfect. It is more so about how you consistently show up and how you put in the effort, no matter if didn't seem like a very good workout, you still showed up. So that's the way that you have to see it. So again, a sustainable routine is easier to repeat long term. So the more you can, create this sustainable routine that you can stick to in the long term is going to matter the most. So fitness works best when it becomes part of your lifestyle. Again, it should not be something that is separate from your daily routine. It should be able to be easily integrated so that it is not another form of stress. And again, making it non-negotiable, of course, is really beneficial at the same time. So again, all you have to focus on is really, especially this is something that I think is important for a lot of people at the start, is to focus on your routine the best way that it's going to fit within any kind of life issues that you have, or like with your work, whether you go to school, whatever you do, sort of creating a routine that is able to be built around all of those different obligations. So the next point that we want to mention is learning to sort of not lose progress, even when you go to social events, brunches, happy hours, even when you are working to, still live your life at the same time and not trying to completely restrict every aspect of your life. So one thing I think a lot of people get really, I feel like gets in the way when they are getting adjusted to a fitness routine is that they feel like they have to avoid a lot of the things that they enjoy. So that's not necessarily the case. You can still have a really good fitness routine and still live, healthy without having to feel like you have to avoid certain situations or avoid, really taking time to go out, relax, or whatever that is. You can still, again, stay on track without all of, without feeling like you have to restrict every aspect of your life. So, again, you can enjoy social life while still protecting your fitness goals. So, one thing you can think about, and this is more what we're talking about mainly here, is the aspect of nutrition. So, learn to eat protein before you go so you can arrive in control. So, sort of making sure that you have your protein intake in advance before you go out to eat or you go to a social event can help. Choose meals that balance protein, carbs, and fats. So, even when you go to a restaurant and you are again, trying to find an option that is still within your goal, there's always some way that you can still stay within your goal, even if you go out to eat. I do this all the time whenever I go to a restaurant, is I always still am able to have my nutrition still be in line with, what my routine is. All you have to do, again, you just pay attention to what's on the menu, pay attention to what is the calorie intake on there. A lot of menus will have the calorie, intake on there. And two, if you really wanted to know, what that specific meal entails, you could actually, if you use like, let's say MyFitnessPal or anything like that, you could go in there and you can look up a lot of the meals for like, there's a lot of different meals that you can find on there, even from like restaurants that people have logged into their, meal tracking, and you can see exactly how the nutrients are broken down. Like it'll tell you how many proteins, carbs, and fats are in those specific foods, as well as the calorie intake. So you could go online in advance and sort of see the breakdown of those calories before you eat those foods at the same time. So even though a lot of times on the menus they may not have that full breakdown, you can go online and find a lot of the breakdowns for some of the meals at restaurants. Another thing too is that you want to limit liquid calories when possible. This is something that I mentioned to a lot of clients that I work with. And this liquid calories is not just specifically for restaurants, it's still basically outside of restaurants. So even in your daily routine, you really still want to limit liquid calories as much as possible because if you add too much of those liquid calories, it can really, hinder your progression, and that's really what's going to, again, you just have to pay attention to those a little bit more than your normal, the calories that you get from foods. You also want to decide your worth it foods ahead of time. So really think about when in advance, try to think about what it is that you are, really you're wanting to eat. You can still, one thing I do also mention to clients that I work with is there can be times where you can go outside of what is within your sort of nutrition. there can be those times where, you like splurge here and there. That's totally fine. What matters in a routine for it to be, leading to progress is learning to not let that be a consistent thing. So you don't want to, of course, have unhealthy foods all the time. You want to be able to balance that out. So even having them here and there when they're farther apart, it's totally fine to go outside of what is your normal nutrition. It's just the fact that you don't want it to be a consistent sort of habit with including those unhealthy foods. And a lot of times when you go to restaurants, you're going to have those options. And having those options here and there is fine. It's just whenever it's consistent and you're doing it, you're including a lot of those options, unhealthy options more is when it, again, is when you need to sort of take a step back. So again, you can get back to your routine at the next meal. So even though you have these meals that may not be fully aligned with your nutrition, the fact that you jump back into your normal routine, excuse me, your normal nutrition and your routine, you want to, of course, keep that in mind. That's what matters most is that even if you go outside of your routine, getting back into that is all that matters. Progress is not about avoiding every event. It is about thinking and making choices that let you enjoy life and stay consistent. So, how you adapt, I think this is the most important part too, is how you adapt in these situations and how you can learn to still be mindful on what you're doing, what you're eating, and what you're consuming is, I think, a really good example of progress in how you are able to adapt whenever a lot of situations change and your environment changes and is outside of your routine. That's a good sign that you're going in the right direction. Meal prep without spending your entire Sunday in the kitchen. So, meal prep is a really good option, especially if you are somebody with a busy schedule, of course. And what meal prep can help with is this mainly gets rid of a lot of the decision making. So, one thing with nutrition, I think that a lot of people really get hung up on is there's like so many different options and they're just not sure basically where they want to, you know, what kind of foods they want to consume in the week. And really, what you have to think about is creating a more consistent and basically focusing on a certain set of meals throughout the week so that you're getting rid of that decision making. So you're not, constantly trying to figure out what you want to eat throughout the week and worrying about whether it aligns with your nutrition when you can go ahead and portion a lot of your meals and of course include the right nutrients and the right balance with what your goal is in particular. So cook in batches and not full meals. So prepare proteins, grains, and vegetables separately. So you can mix and match throughout the week. So you don't necessarily have to basically include your like all your meals don't have to be the same. So what you want to focus on is again create a mix of different nutrients. Create, make a thing of chicken, thing of rice, thing of vegetables, in sort of throughout the week, if you don't want everything to be, bland every single day, you can just, again, mix it up and change up some of your nutrients. And you could do that each week. If you wanted to change up, maybe, add something different outside of, vegetables, you could include something different. You could, like with brown rice, if maybe one week you ate brown rice throughout that week, you could in the next week try adding quinoa, with your chicken or whatever other, lean meat that you chose that week. So you can mix and match that. Same thing with, like you could add potatoes and chicken. There's a lot of different things you can do without having each particular meal being the same each day and sort of mixing up and having a little bit more variety. So choose versatile ingredients. Again, foods like chicken, rice, potatoes, roasted vegetable, Greek yogurt, and fruit work across multiple meals. So you can combine a lot of these together in different ways. Of course, maybe not Greek yogurt alongside, chicken and rice, but Greek yogurt can be mixed with fruit, and you could include that as sort of, something that is like a snack, or including it as sort of somewhat of a dessert portion of your meal. So limit yourself to 2 to 3 recipes. So simplicity again is going to reduce that prep time, cleanup, and decision fatigue. So use convenience wisely. So pre-washed greens, frozen vegetables, microwavable rice, and rotisserie chicken can dramatically reduce cooking time. So try to find options that are going to, sort of reduce a lot of those a lot of that time of decision making and preparing and things of that nature. So that's what you want to think about as well. But like I said, you can make meal prep not seem as bland, and it doesn't have to be, you know, the same, just combining a lot of the different things, together. You don't have to have the same meals each day. Just know that you can sort of mix and match and include what you want to include, and something that's, again, going to add a little bit of, less blandness, and you can use, if you wanted to as well, you could use like any kind of seasonings. Of course, be a little bit wise with some of your seasonings, or anything that you include, because that's something that you kind of have to take into account as far as your calorie intake, because sometimes that can add to it as well as far as the nutrients too. So the next point is, of course, we're going to transition over to managing stress. So I know I've touched a little bit on, someone at the beginning, our fitness, going a little bit into nutrition, and then now we're going to be sort of going over a little bit of the sort of recovery side of things, and what we do post workout, and really paying attention to those as well, because those can sort of influence how we progress in our fitness routine. So, stress can lead to, so first, let me just say, managing stress before it derails your fitness goals. So stress itself can lead to skipped workouts, poor sleep, emotional eating, low energy, and slower recovery. So the goal itself isn't to eliminate stress. We're going to naturally have stress here and there. It's to learn to build habits that keep you consistent through it. So learning to adapt through stressful situations is the most important thing to think about in a routine. Like what I've mentioned many times over, is that I still, even though when I go through workouts, and I have days where, I go to my workouts, but there's those days where I feel like I just, like I said before, I don't want to be there. And I'm just not really feeling it, and feeling like I could do something else. But the thing is how you adapt to those moments where you're just like, I'm not, I just, when your mindset sort of gets in the way, you just really want to think about how you can go through those moments without, completely avoiding your workout. You still want to go through it. You just want to learn how to adapt through those situations. So identify your stress triggers early. Use shorter workouts when life gets busy. When you do have those times when things, when life gets in the way, don't skip your workout. Try to shorten it if needed. Prioritize sleep like as part of your program. Sleep is very important. So even in a workout routine, you still want to prioritize sleep, because it's going to help, especially when you're focusing on muscle gain, it is going to help with that muscle gain process. Keep simple meals available. Practice recovery habits daily. Again, recovery is all about what you do post workout. That's a combination of your sleep, learning to manage the stress that you have, and also at the same time incorporating, active recovery, which is staying active on those rest days that you have. Of course, incorporating rest days in your routine too can help with stress management at the same time. And also avoid all or nothing thinking. So don't just basically see, your routine as having to go all in every time, or having to push yourself really hard in every workout, or having to make everything perfect. Make sure that you learn to, again, balance your intensity. Don't really go extremely, push yourself too hard. Learn to balance that intensity. And if you need to slow down with certain workouts, again, if your workouts need to be shorter, if you need to adjust certain parts of your routine so that it's not becoming overwhelming, that is completely fine to do. You just have to learn to navigate those moments whenever stress sort of gets in the way. And that's just extremely important to, it is the hardest thing, but I think it's the most important part of really making progress in your routine. So the last point I want to mention here is looking good is great, but feeling strong is better. So strength gives your fitness purpose beyond the mirror. So this is one thing that I've mentioned time and time again is that our fitness routine does not have to be specifically focused on how we look, but we need to think about is outside of that aspect of how we look and really thinking about what benefits fitness can bring outside of the physical changes. So while fitness can help with physical changes and can be motivating, true long term success in a routine from building a body that performs well, feels capable, and supports your life every day. So, when you prioritize strength, improved movement, and better health, your appearance often improves as a natural result. So, seeing a combination, not just again focusing on always trying to push for those, that physique change, but really thinking about the performance change. One thing I mentioned a lot of times with clients and, in previous streams as well, is that when we see progress in our routine, one of the things that helps a ton and I think is a great motivator is sort of noticing how we feel, how our body is adapting to our workouts. So having that feeling of knowing that you're getting stronger, that you're lifting a weight that you haven't lifted before in the past, or that you struggled lifting for before in the past, noticing that change, I feel like is one of the best feelings. And once you notice that, it does become this sort of and motivating factor that keeps you going. So I think that's something to think about. Again, think about how you feel too in your routine. Do you feel like you have more energy? Are you able to really perform better in your workouts? Are you able to control the weight better? All of these are great signs of progression outside of just looking at our physique alone. So train for performance and not just appearance. So focus on becoming stronger, more capable, and more resilient with every workout. Celebrate what your body can do. Again, that goes back to the same thing that I mentioned. I kind of got ahead of myself there. Lifting heavier, moving with better control, and recovering faster are meaningful signs of progress. So build confidence through capability. Knowing your body is strong creates confidence that lasts far longer than chasing a specific look. Strength, again, is going to support everyday life. So our strength is not, just one particular thing. Yes, it improves how we are able to perform in workouts, but another thing that it helps is how we do things in day-to-day life, whether that be, what we do in our work, what we do as far as things around the house. A lot of these different things are being benefited from exercising. So this it's carrying groceries, climbing stairs, playing sports, travel, and staying active with greater ease and less fatigue. So there's so many other benefits again outside of that physique and that appearance. Alrighty, guys. So that is pretty much all I have for you guys today. I hope that this was helpful and valuable, and I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight on how you can approach a busy schedule and really staying within that schedule and not feeling like you have to be overwhelmed with your fitness routine and making sure that all of the different aspects of your routine are aligned together. Again, when it comes to progress, like what I mentioned time and time again, is that a lot of it is really about taking things step by step, taking things piece by piece, and not letting it be overwhelming because that's really how it was whenever I got started. I was really overwhelmed because a lot of times with me when I got started is I would always think that I had to pretty much go all in. Like I had that all or nothing mindset, like I mentioned. And that is a very, a not so good mindset to have. I mean, yeah, it's great to have sort of that motivation to do that, but to an extent, it is going to exhaust you. So you have to create that balance between how you approach your routine, how you approach it to integrate it into your daily life, and again, not letting it be something that is a barrier and something that it's like you have to just constantly squeeze into your routine. It should be something, again, that's easily integrated into your daily life. So, with all that being said, guys, I really appreciate your time. I really hope that this was insightful and helpful. If you guys do have any questions on anything I've discussed here, feel free to let me know. I really, again, can't thank you enough for the support and the encouragement with everything that I've shared here recently. And I really look forward to continuing to do these streams, continuing to share videos and more information with you guys. So, thank you guys once again for your time. If you do have any questions, just feel free to reach out and let me know. But with all that being said, guys, this is all I have to talk to you today about. And I will see you guys next, well, it should be the following Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time in the next live stream. So thank you guys once again for watching.